since we did a lot of posterization by Photoshop last week, I decided to do this with a posterization method too. Okay, so my original photograph was this solid toilet roll. And then I use a posterization to divide into different darkness. Okay, and each one I printed out as template for cutting stencil. All these layers are printed, okay, and then I cut all these stencils, okay, for printing. And these are my result of 5 layers of print. So this is very first one, just black shape, printed with a Pochoir. And then I put another one stencil with a Dural frosted acetate to paint. And you see that I painted with a dark gray here. And then I printed with a lighter gray. Of course, there is a bridge I had to make. But since it's a painting, you can, after printing with a stencil, you can cover these bridges which are no longer necessary with a paintbrush. These guys are all bridges I had to cover, okay? And printing one more, mid-tone gray, and then lighter gray, and white on top. Okay, so that's my first experiment. I use acrylic paint, so I was able to paint something lighter on top of something darker. Okay, so if you're using acrylic paint, you can use paint something lighter on top of black. Means you can even start from black surface. Assignment, I think it's good to do one surface of cardboard, okay? And then I would say you can decide the size of the paper first and the location of the image on top of that printing paper, okay? And this is what I made. I'm sorry, I'm talking too fast, huh? I made this cardboard Remember, you are using these cardboard chips for your registration purpose, one point, right? So this is where paper sits. Okay, I made the shape here, and one here, and one here. So paper can sit always located in the same position each time. Okay, and also I made this registration marks on the paper. Okay, so each time I'm cutting the registration mark, giving idea where is exactly the image should go. Actually, this is this way. For example, this one. Like this. Okay. Let me do a little cutting demo here. Here, so this paper doesn't move. Okay. And Okay, and then this is a web media film actually. Web media film you can actually draw. Okay, you can draw the shape. So I'm using this time I'm using a web media film for the stencil. I can trace. Oh, and also I should be marking here where I was trying to. Each time I should be lining up, right? I'm lining up, marking this registration mark. Right. So once this is traced, it's easy to cut. Don't cut the original image. I'm putting this cardboard so I don't cut the image. All right, so I'm just cutting this as a simple stencil from the printout I had, okay? But I'm gonna do one simple printing today. Okay, I already cut the other layers before this class. First layer, second layer, third layer, Fourth layer. And last layer was the one just I just cut it. Okay, so it's probably hard to see from where you are, but so I'm planning to do those 5 layers to make this. Okay, my goal is something similar to what I did with acrylic. This one, I started with a black and gradually adding something lighter gray on top to make this. But today I'm using gouache. So hold on, that one was acrylic paint. So I was able to bring something dark, lighter on top of something darker. So let's make start with something lighter and getting darker and darker. That's my plan today. Okay. So this is my printing paper. Exactly trying to set in this corner. So during the printing, I don't want the paper to be moving. So I'm gonna tape it down. First stencil. And put stencil down. Okay. All right. All right, so let's print this one. And this time I'm using gouache. Very first color is something very light. Technically, you can use any type of a paintbrush, but traditionally it's recommended to use very stiff Bristol brush like this. Okay. All right. I'm gonna also make sure the stencil doesn't move. So tape it down. Okay. I also have funny, how can you notice if it's totally transparent? I have funny bridges here. Okay, I have those bridges, which meant to be eventually disappear. So when you are painting, make sure that stencil is intact as much as possible. There's no vacuum or anything, and there's no squeegee. So you don't want the paint to go underneath of the stencil, right? So if your paint is a little bit too watery, there's a chance to be bleeding to go underneath of that stencil. So just be careful. Don't put too much water. All right, went in a little bit. There was some bleed. I got too much water then. Then here, you can paint over those bridges. It may help if your stencil is slightly bigger than your printing paper. In this case, my printing paper and stencil are the same size. That makes it some difficulty. So I can do the next. Okay, does this give you an idea what's gonna happen?